Welcome back to Woodward Sports. Ryan Armani, Braylon Edwards, Tom Mazaway. Talking a little baseball now. Everybody here in Detroit, I think universally, wants and expects Carlos Correa to sign here with Detroit. It's been about 5 years since the Tigers have spent money. They seem to be, based on last year, ahead of schedule in terms of competing for a playoff berth. I don't think anybody expected them to be as competitive as they were last year. So that accelerates the timeline a little bit. And then, of course, you see this picture of Carlos Correa having breakfast, which extended into lunch.
So it's brunch.
With Tigers manager A.J. Hinch yesterday. What's that?
Who took the picture?
I don't know. Somebody.
Somebody snitching.
Right. Somebody who knows.
Snitches get stitches.
Exactly. Right.
Not A.B. Chef.
Right. So a lot of people would love the services of Carlos Correa. So let's bring him in. New York Post baseball columnist Ken Davidoff, also a University of Michigan grad in
that's all that matters right there, baby.
We got it. Ken, how you doing? Thanks for the time.
I'm doing great, Braylon. It's an honor. Thank you. So I'm, a little older than you. I'm more from the Desmond, Derek Alexander era, but it's a pleasure to be on.
No, the pleasure's all mine. And to be honest, it's crazy. Derek Alexander was my favorite receiver, actually, at Michigan. Derek Alexander was my favorite. And I had a chance to meet Derek Alexander, and let's just say that it didn't go as well as I wanted it to. So I'll make the story short. Derek Alexander's from Detroit. He wore number 1. He was a great wide receiver. If he never gets hurt, Desmond Howard never wins the Heisman Trophy. That's a known fact. But with that being said, I loved him. I loved what he did. I loved his athletic ability. I loved his route running. I loved him in the NFL as well. Ran into him a Thanksgiving game. I was with my stepfather. This is my senior year after I just finished breaking the records. And I ran into Derek Alexander and I guess his girlfriend or wife, I don't know. And I told my stepdad, I said, Dad, that's Derek Alexander. I said, that's why we're number 1 in Michigan. And I went up to him and I was like, yo, Derek Alexander, what's going on? Braylon, how you doing? Oh, hey, man, what's going on? And kept walking.
Really?
That's all I got.
Oh, God.
That's all I got. Not only am I from Detroit as well, I also wore number 1. I also play wide receiver.
He's jealous.
I thought there were so many similarities that it would just be hey, what's going on? How you doing? Whenever I see guys, I'm excited.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't get the excited that I wanted. So, but things happen.
I'm sorry.
How about that? Well, great story.
But it's great to see you.
Never heard that. Hey, Ken, let me get into some baseball with you. Look, there's about 5 shortstops out there, and 8 or 9 teams need a shortstop. It seems logical for the Tigers in this natural marriage with Carlos Correa. What do you make of the lunch yesterday? Where are the Tigers in line there in their pursuit of Carlos Correa?
Look, I do my annual free agent predictions, and I predicted the Tigers to sign Carlos Correa. So I think it's going to happen. I think the Tigers have you guys noted, I've had quite the rebuild here, a lengthy rebuild, and created massive payroll flexibility. Their only real commitment prior to Eduardo Rodriguez is Mickey Cabrera, a couple more years there. And it seems to me they are primed and ready, not only to spend, but to spend at the right time. After a nice climb this past year, to make that jump into bona fide contention, and that can happen with someone as good as Carlos Correa.
Ken, what's it going to take? What kind of contract are we talking here? We always talk about 10 for 300 or 10 for 325. Is that the market?
I think it will be, yes. I think he's going to surpass what Francisco Lindor made from the Mets, which was 10 years, $341 million. I think Correa has a strong case. I think he's a superior player to Francisco Lindor, and he's a free agent. Lindor signed that when he wasn't a free agent, just with the Mets. So I do think it will surpass that figure.
Ken, here's a great question. Carlos Correa, we know we want to sign him here in Detroit. We know that where he will take this franchise. We know him and AJ's history. What happens if they don't get AJ? What happens if they do not get Carlos Correa? How far does that set the Detroit Tigers back? Or does it set them back at all?
It depends who else they get. Whether it is another shortstop. You guys mentioned there's 5 elite shortstop free agents. That's Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Javi Baez, and Trevor Story. Or if they sign a couple more starting pitchers, or if they sign a big outfielder, it is a deep free agent class. So Yeah, I think Correa is the way to go, and I think that is what will happen because it will give them that instant credibility. But I don't think they're toast if for some reason they fail to sign Correa.
Hey, Kenny, I got a little beef with Carlos. Not only was he on that Astro team that cheated, obviously, he's a bit of a show off. He hits at Minute Maid Park, which is not Comerica National Park, as everyone knows. He's not going to hit like he hit at Minute Maid. He's a great defensive shortstop. Speaking of that, I didn't like the shade he threw at Derek Jeter. I really did. What business? Why would he say that? He was a kid when Derek Jeter was winning all those championships. I just didn't like that.
Ken Maz named his dog Jeets. So that, by the way.
Yeah, Steve.
So
the backstory on the name.
That's the backstory.
I mean, give me a break. Shut your mouth.
That was an odd choice to make as a free agent. I agree. I happen to agree with his assessment. I do think Jeter would win fewer Gold Gloves in this age and the way we measure defenders now. But yeah, why say that when you're trying to get many teams, including the Yankees, engaged in a free agency?
Why would Carlos Correa have gotten Jeremy Giambi out in that AL divisional playoff? Would he have done that?
I would say yes, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
He's a
I'll
pretty
shut
brilliant
up then.
shortstop.
Hey, Ken, let me ask you about the Yankees. The Yankees were one of the teams that went down to see Justin Verlander. They're one of the teams reportedly in the mix for Carlos Correa. What are they going to do in free agency? Now, I know Verlander went back to the Astros and Correa linked here to the Tigers, but what about the Yankees?
Well, they need a shortstop, whether they wind up. I don't think Correa is coming. I think they're just talking nice because that benefits everyone. I just think A, there's too much history there with the sign stealing, and B, I just think they're better off with a lefty hitter like Corey Seager, or with someone ready to move out of shortstop quicker like Marcus Semien, because they do have a couple young shortstops they like, or they could just go the cheap route, stopgap like Andrelton Simmons, because they also definitely want a starting pitcher. Excuse me, you're right. They ran on Verlander, didn't want to go that second year. And they also are in the mix for a center fielder.
Ken Davidoff joins us, New York Post columnist and writes for baseball, obviously, knows this stuff. Tigers, what else can the Tigers get? Let's say Carlos Correa does not come here. What else do you think the Tigers need? Do you think they compete this year for a playoff spot at all?
That's a fair question, Maz. Yeah, would they win 77 this year?
Yeah, they hit the over.
Yeah. I think they should get into the 80s, and I don't think the 90s is impossible. Eduardo Rodriguez was a nice first step. It was a bold move, high risk, might not work, but I like it. I think it can work, and I think whether they add another starting pitcher or two, again, I think shortstop is the way for a team looking to spend this winter. Shortstop is the way to go. There's no doubt about that. So if for some reason they whiff on Correa, you've got those other guys I mentioned right in there.
Hey, Ken, let me ask you just a big picture question about baseball and the Atlanta Braves who won the World Series this year. 60 days before they won that World Series, they completely changed their outfield. Like 4 new players out there in the outfield. And they were, Maz, 4 for 4 out there. Just your take on how that all went down the last 60 days of the baseball season, and then Atlanta cultivating it with a World Series.
Yeah, I was happy. I picked them to win before the season started. So
wow. There we go. Michigan stuff, man.
Getting that right. Yeah, Michigan, man. Excuse me. Credit to the Atlanta Braves because they could have folded. That you mentioned Acuna got hurt. That was on the Saturday before the All-Star game. They could have taken that All-Star break and said, we're done. Let's sell some guys, and kind of reboot and plan for the future. But to their credit, they said, we don't want that. We don't want a boring summer for our fans and for us. So they got the 4 outfielders you mentioned. They got a catcher. They got a relief pitcher. And it did undoubtedly rejuvenate the team. It wasn't immediate. They still struggled for another week or two after the trade deadline. But once they kind of figured it out and kicked it into gear, they got it done, obviously. So it really is a tribute to them for not giving up, for trying. And it should hopefully be a lesson to other teams to take the similar risk because the reward is very high.
Ken, here's a good question for you. Yesterday, the AL and NL MVPs both came out. Obviously, Shohei, unanimous in the AL. And then in the NL, you get Bryce Harper winning. You have a lot of people that are upset. Do you think as though Soto or Tatis Jr. got snubbed, or do you think Bryce Harper should have won over those two?
I did not vote for that one. I voted for American League Manager. But I thought Harper was a very solid choice because of how well he performed in the second half. When the Phillies scratched and clawed, and they ultimately missed the playoffs, but they were in it until the final week of the season. And Harper gets to take a lot of credit for that. Soto played for a team that did give up at the trade deadline, rightfully so, probably. And the truth is, he hit his best after the deadline. So, we're picking nits here, but you have to do that to pick the MVP. I think Soto hit at his best in the first half of the season, maybe they wouldn't have to trade away all those guys. And when you talk about Tatis, you're talking about a guy on a team that really just fell off a cliff, team with huge expectations entering the year, and the most disappointing team of the year. Now, statistically speaking, obviously they would have been worse without Tatis, but I think it's awfully hard to give a guy an MVP when he was on that kind of team.
Hey, Ken, let's go up the street to the Mets. They get their new general manager from the Angels. 2 days before they signed this guy, the Angels signed Noah Syndergaard for $20 million. And he's going to probably comeback player of the year. Will the Mets ever get it right, man? I mean, I know they were set back all these years with the bad ownership and Bernie Madoff and all of that. Now they got the richest owner in sports, probably. Will the Mets ever get it right? And did they get it right by hiring this Epler guy?
That's a broad question, Baz. I would say, look, what do you think our species has? Another 100, 200 years at least?
I'm not sure.
Before we go down the toilet?
I'm not sure.
So, I'll say they win one World Series at least in the next 200 years.
All right.
Yang thinks it's before then.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I might bet the under myself. Is Billy Epler the right hire?
Yeah.
I think given where they were in this process, it was an embarrassing search.
Oh, my
Let's
God.
not kid ourselves here. They whiffed on a lot of people.
Theo.
Where they are in this search, I thought Billy Epler was a worthwhile risk. I got to know Billy quite well when he was on the Yankees. Very, very bright guy, a good leader. He whiffed in his opportunity with the Angels. No one can dispute that. But sometimes you get a second chance, and sometimes you succeed in that second chance.
What happened with Theo Epstein? I mean, isn't he the slam dunk here?
He wanted no part of it.
That scares me.
Hey, Ken, final thing for you. Michigan, Ohio State next week. Who you got?
I hope Braylon can appreciate this. Tunnel vision. Maryland. Tunnel vision.
There you go.
There you
go.
Maryland.
There you go. I love it.
Great stuff, Ken. We certainly appreciate your time. Ken Davidoff, New York Post baseball columnist there. Follow him on Twitter at Ken Davidoff. U of M class of 93 as well. Go Blue.
Baby.
All right, great stuff.
Go
Hey,
Blue,
we're going to
guys.
take
Thanks
Go
for your
Blue.
time.
Thanks, Ken. We're going to take a break.